After using the iQOO Z5 for a few months, it was only natural to have an itch to upgrade my phone to something with a snappier processor on it and also something which has better cameras on it. As it is only natural for this robotic monkey to get bored with stuff pretty soon and hence get itchy at places I really can't share in a video. Hey everyone, Mukul here. So a bunch of good initial reviews are already out for the iQOO 90, which is also known as iQOO 10 in some regions, and so I thought let me use this device for a few weeks before posting mine. Yeah, no rush. But right before I speak anything else about this phone, I just want to mention how life-changing its 120-watt charger is. It is almost as if I don't need to worry about charging this device anymore. But yeah, I do need to charge it sometimes. All this phone needs are 20 to 25 minutes for a complete charge, almost making the idea of owning or carrying a power bank obsolete. Power bank or power brick? Assume that you have to leave for some place suddenly and your phone is near the end of its charge cycle. Now you would obviously take 10 to 15 minutes in getting ready, and that much time is just about enough for this phone to charge up to 70% of its capacity. In another scenario, you can assume that you are on a trip and you don't have the access to a charging port inside whatever vehicle you are traveling in, and then you take a halt at a roadside hotel for a quick snack where you just plug in the phone next to any power outlet, and even before you are done with your meal, the phone would have a complete charge on it. On top of that, the phone so far is giving me a screen on time of about 6 hours with heavy usage. This includes using Google Maps navigation, streaming music from the Bluetooth, lots of regular 4G and WhatsApp calls, and a lot of pictures and videos for the camera test. I thought the 120-watt charger would be bulky, but it's quite compact, but it's definitely heavy. The charging cable is pretty thick and long. I know the pun you want to make here, but stop. That you can actually choke someone with it. It's a joke, guys, it's a joke. Well, now finally on to something that matters the most, and that is how the box has been designed. I bought the 12 to 56 GB Legend Color variant, and that's why the BMW Motorsport branding is all over the box. The phone's IMEI stickers didn't come pasted on the back and were left neatly inside the box. Smart move. I used my iPad Air cable to transfer data from my old phone to the iQOO 90 as it was Type-C at both ends, and then I'd noticed the cable that came with the 90 could also do that. Yeah, these are some ultra smart brain powers. The phone also included a transparent case free of cost and a Type-C to 3.5mm jack dongle. Oh, look at that! So much stuff inside a phone box in 2022. The phone doesn't feel bulky and feels like home right in the hand. That is if you have good size hands like mine. And I've also strangely felt that this dimension is so much more suited when it comes to tap typing from both of my hands. My previous phone was iQOO Z5, which also had a good size screen, but on the 90, a decimal difference in screen size feels so much more different and better for my case. The phone has excellent build quality and doesn't feel thick around its edges too. The white glass back area gets no smudges on it, and the surface with these subtle carbon fiber prints inside, that too doesn't easily get smudges on it. But the camera module area is a fingerprint magnet, and the camera bump isn't too out too. The white glass has an extremely good matte finish feel to it, and I just can't get enough of rubbing my fingers against it. No, please, stop. This is a family-friendly content. The BMW branding strip is a little raised from the surface of the phone, and I also did love the design touch to make the power button blue. The phone has excellent call reception, and I can claim that because the spot where I keep my phone before I sleep, well, that area sometimes doesn't get reception, but with the 90 so far I have never missed a single call. Which kinda sucks as I love missing calls. The haptic feedback doesn't feel like anything flagship, but it's not like as if you won't like it too. It's just in the middle. Maybe it required a different motor inside of it for that 4D vibration that is there in the game mode. Well, the display used on this phone is an E5 AMOLED panel, and my phone neither had green tint issue or black crush issue on it. For the refresh rate of the screen, you can either choose Smart Switch or 60Hz or 120Hz. I got obsessed with the screen's color profile so much so that I decided to meet a friend who has a Samsung S21 Ultra with him and compared it side by side. In comparison to that phone, the saturation levels of the blues and green were way high on the S21 Ultra's panel, but the whites were more accurate on the 90. And I love my accurate whites. Watching HDR content will be a treat to the eyes as it is supported on YouTube, Netflix, Hotstar and Prime Video too. Playing back HDR content flickered the whole screen for a short period of time, but as I was taking these B-rolls, I received an update which specifically said that they have fixed this issue. The screen is also ample bright under the sun in daytime. A bunch of reviewers have already shared this, and my phone doesn't throttle more than the green healthy range in this app. The balanced mode and the monster mode scores did have a healthy difference too. But in the antutu benchmark in monster mode, the scores actually shrank a little. And in the wildlife extreme stress test, the balanced mode returned a score that was quite close to what the monster mode returned, but with way more stability. I don't play any games on my mobile phones, but I played Call of Duty for half an hour with these settings, and I also tried these other settings, which unlocks the multiplayer mode at 120 FPS. And throughout my usage, the phone didn't feel warm. Probably because I was too focused on the game, but if it was too hot, I would have definitely noticed it. The number of features the game mode of this phone has is just crazy, and it is definitely something I can't rush in 2 minutes. Now I am not much invested in gaming on a phone, so sadly I won't be covering that in detail. But if this video gets 1000 likes, lol, then I probably might. Setting up unrealistic goals and never achieving them, story of my life. And as a bonus, the phone also has infrared support, so now I can finally rely on a device that I don't tend to lose as much as compared to the many air conditioning remotes in my home. The speakers are decently loud, but a ceiling fan or a window AC can still suppress it, but it was definitely louder than my IQOO Z5 stereo speakers. I would say at best these are just slightly above average speakers that speak sound from them. Well, I'm covering the cameras in a separate video, but to cut it short here, the front camera is pretty decent for pictures. The dynamic range control is also quite good, but I made sure to turn off any beautify modes for these pictures, as I am definitely someone who likes real details more than pastel effects. But the front camera just sucks for videos when it comes to managing any sort of dynamic range. Well, yeah, the dynamic range kind of sucks on the front camera. The rear camera combination is super fun with a proper wide sensor and an ultra wide sensor which can also work like a macro thanks to the fact that it can autofocus, and then a 2x optical sensor which can also take pictures with decent details on them. Well, most of the pictures I took with the phone were simply brilliant. Some of them might need a little bit of color correction if you are deep into color science, but for most casual clickers the pictures would look beautiful, especially for your crappy, lame social media accounts. I was just kidding about it, or maybe I was not. The videos from the rear cameras are pretty good, and it also manages the dynamic range pretty well too. The stabilization is also pretty impressive, and the videos have a lot of details in them. The OnePlus chip does a decent job for low light videos at 1080p, but don't expect magic to happen unless there's a decent light source in the scene. But the low light pictures with the night mode are just fantastic and captures good amount of details too. The color balance is where the phone's stock camera app is definitely weak. Combine all of these good attributes with a feature-rich camera app and you have a really strong camera phone as a tool in your hand. Now when it comes to funtouch OS, I am not entirely sure why some influencers or tech creators hate it so much. I used the IQOO Z5 for a whole 6 months, and this Android skin on the IQOO has never bothered me. The very rare bugs like notifications missing on the notification panel have been definitely there, but IQOO has been so consistent with their updates, especially the security patches and all, that it has rarely made me feel that I am missing out on something. Even with the Snapdragon 778G on the IQOO Z5, the OS felt smooth and hardly ever lagged or stuttered. So with the Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1 chip, oh man, that name is tough, the funtouch OS felt even more fluid. It is quite obvious that Android has gotten way more optimized now, so the chip on the IQOO 90 is just killing it when it comes to smooth performance. The on-screen fingerprint reader unlocks really fast, but I had to store my thumbprint twice so that it could read from awkward angles too. The face unlock is pretty freaking fast too, but like the fingerprint unlock, it will ask you to accept a few terms and conditions, which I accepted happily, because why should the other apps have all the fun with my private data and not the face unlock app? The phone does come with a bunch of bloatware apps that are easy to uninstall, except for IQOO's own browser app that by default had all the permissions it needed in the world, but then I disabled each one of them. Someone's really trying to be oversmart, huh? The phone also supports always on display, which I don't use much, just because I love having longer battery, and has a theme store too, which I don't use much. You can change the animation styles of a bunch of options too, which includes things like touchscreen animation, home screen animation, fingerprint unlock animation, charging animation, and USB insert animation, and more animations that I don't wanna animatedly read. There are also a bunch of smart wake options too, which include a few characters set to a few apps. The default swipe down does this global search, and whatever you search, it will try and show this sponsored stuff. So I just disabled it and changed it to swipe down to open up the notification panel. I also primarily use Nova Launcher, so there's the end of that problem. So yeah, this phone is a pretty good package overall, and at least the introductory discounts which the phone came with makes it a really good value for money device, especially for my use case and especially for this price segment. The OnePlus 10T is also a good phone, but looks ugly to me, so I didn't go for it. I mean, I wouldn't ever go for something which looks ugly to me and not to you, because it was looking ugly to me and not to you. Oh. The 10T's primary camera does perform a bit better as compared to the IQOO 90, but the kind of camera sensor combination it uses is simply absurd and kind of proves yet again that BBK has definitely decided to demolish the brand for sure. The cameras can do a great job except for that front camera for videos, which is sadly a pathetic fashion that many Android phones follow. But to be honest, the super duper fast charging does make me wonder how long will the battery last in the long run. But now whenever I put it on charging, I set the timer of 17 minutes and sometimes to 20 minutes on Google Assistant so that I can unhook it at around 90% charge. So this is about it for the T's, of the 9s, of the IQOOs, of the Vivos, of the BBKs. That's a long family chain. Hop onto our Discord server if you want to chit chat more on this or anything else tech related. So yeah, this is it. Take care humans, Mewbot out. I could have shown you the phone like this or like this or like this in front of the camera, but I find that to be lame. Sorry.